And from Columbus, Ohio, I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
Oh, my bad. Coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Stuff.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech, aka shout out to my daughter and her flag crew. They call it the Color Guard. They they came in 13th in the World Color Guard Championships. I'm pretty sure that's not the name of it. But out of the nations of people competing, I think that was like 200. No, maybe not 200. What? That's too much. Maybe I'll say 100. Out of 100 teams, they came in 13th. So shout out to them.
Congratulations.
Yeah. This is the first time they've been back, I think, since COVID. So they did pretty good. My daughter was up in Ohio, as a matter of fact, for most of last week when they did their competition. So she's a little bummed out. Of course, she was like, well, we did good on the preliminaries and the semifinals. When we got to the finals, we could have did a little bit better. Well, me meaning us, I did good, but we as a team could have done a little bit better. So I'm like, hey, look, as long as you did your job and you did your best, that's all I can ask of you. So she's pretty proud of that. I'm personally happy that Winter Guard is over. Now we get our babysitter back. That is until band camp starts up, which is this week. So never ending story. So, parenthood. Yay.
Yeah, you got 3 of them, man. I mean, I had 2, but mine had distance between them. So my oldest is 8 years older than my youngest. So definitely by the time the youngest was like 1.5, well, I got a 10-year-old. It's like she could watch her for a half hour, 45 minutes. I could go outside, cut the grass, and not worry about the 1-year-old falling down steps or something like that. But for a quick time when they were both in the stuff, I had the one in high school doing all the marching band stuff, and then I had the one in grade school. It is dance and cheerleading and soccer and all that kind of stuff, just with 2. So I can only imagine with 3, and yours are a little closer in age together. So
well, no, they ain't. My oldest 2 are closest in age, and then we had surprise. Y'all got a 3rd kid, so he's the one that's almost 7 years apart from my middle child. So
I was really referring to the first 2.
Yeah. So he's in soccer all day long. Well, not all day long, all week long. So we got another one coming up behind him. So we got 5 or 6, 7 years of keeping an eye on him until he finally gets self-sufficient. And then we'd be like, yay, but then it'd be too old to do anything. So
no, you won't. It'll be right on time.
Well, y'all, this is a tech show. So let's go ahead and talk about some tech. And our first story, Netflix falls down with Love is Blind, the live stream. Now, I have to be honest. I am not a reality TV person at all. But I guess America was really upset with Netflix. Have y'all heard anything about this? I mean, I didn't even know that there was a show called Love is Blind on Netflix. Like I said, I'm so out of the loop. But I kept seeing yesterday on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, people talking about, this thing ain't starting to, it's not working. I hate Netflix and this and that and the other. I'm like, what is going on? So I started digging into it. And I guess Netflix tried to do a live stream to half of America. And the Joker didn't work.
Yeah, I don't watch Love is Blind, but I just today and being on social media and seeing folks complaining about they was waiting and I've been waiting 15 minutes, I've been waiting 30 minutes, what's going on? I wonder if it's more difficult to do a live stream over the internet than live, like via satellite, a regular broadcast live stream. I was like, I would think it would be easier because it would be maybe fewer moving parts on Netflix's end, but apparently, not, because
Well, word on the street, again, alleged. Word on the street, it wasn't technical difficulties. They had some issues with some of the cast members. So this Love is Blind has been at messier than previous ones. The first one, it was all everybody's out to find love and we hope they make it, and then as the seasons go on, it got, all right, we about to turn this into, this is my opportunity to get my shine on. So they've got characters who, reflect, all right, I'm about to make some waves. And word on the street was the reason why they couldn't go live or they cut it or whatever was because some of the cast members was acting up. That's what I heard. I don't know for sure.
That sounds more logical. Yeah.
Right.
If that is true, that makes me feel a lot better about Netflix, because I'm sitting here thinking it's like, this is not, I have no idea how live streaming works, but I have a lot of ideas about how live streaming works. And if YouTube can do it, if Hulu can do it, if Amazon Prime can do it,
I mean, we're live streaming right now.
We're live streaming right now.
Just like,
so if
Netflix can do it. And if Netflix can do it, because they streamed Chris Rock's
with no issues. That was right. They said that went off without a hitch.
Yeah, I was like, how could this have been a technical problem? I was confused about that.
That
very confused about that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So,
and that's the problem with reality anymore. I mean, everybody's just trying to get put on. Nobody really cares about whatever the reality show is about. They just trying to get put on and use it as a vehicle. So that's what we get.
Yep.
Yeah. So to read their quote here, they said that we are incredibly sorry that the Love is Blind reunion did not turn out as we had planned. We're filming it now and we'll have it on Netflix as soon as humanly possible. Now, I believe the humanly possible turned out to be around 3 p.m. Eastern today.
Yeah.
I think it did go up. But as I said, Terrance, I did not know that, because I really don't pay attention to this stuff. So I looked at the story this morning and made sure that it went up and haven't looked at any additional news. That does make me feel better about Netflix, because I had a whole diatribe planned of,
for real,
they can't do this.
$14.99 a month. Y'all need
and it's not even, I mean,
just damn live streaming.
This is how bad it was. I mean, even Blockbuster was throwing shade at it. Blockbuster said, remember renting VHS from us? You can start it on time with no problem. This is what we get when we go to streaming.
This also makes a lot of sense for because folks were mad at Coachella. Frank Ocean was supposed to live stream from YouTube for Coachella, and he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And so and they're not selling no Frank Ocean merch. I think Sinead O'Connor is actually at Coachella as well, and she's not live streaming. So I have to think that it's probably, some sort of situation with the artist, as opposed to YouTube not being able to, because I'm like, it's YouTube, they can stream anytime they want, that it has to do with the artist as opposed to, YouTube's capacity to make that stream happen.
Yeah, because I was just thinking here, this is episode 79 for us. I believe that this is the 72nd episode that we have live streamed. And although we have had problems with live streaming because we had an issue with some software that we were using, it wasn't because the technology just broke all the way down. It's just it might have, we got to click this button and come back into it. We were able to put every single show on. We did not have to forego a show because of tech, even though we have had tech issues doing it. And I'm just thinking, Netflix, this is not a good look. You already are
raising prices.
You're raising prices. You are the biggest, but the problem
tripping about people
saying, sharing
passwords.
Yeah. So I at least feel better about that. It was a what had happened or how do you say it? What had happened is the reason that they didn't put it up as compared to some technology broke down, because I'm just thinking that can't happen, because I'm thinking right now, I've watched football on Amazon Prime. Can you imagine? It's if you can do that, football has got to be one of the most watched live stream things I would think that there is, as far as just the number of people that are going to watch it. And if you can't do that, then you can't be a streaming service. It's you have to be able to compete with your peers. And like I said, so I'm just glad that it's not that.
Well, especially as all the hype that Netflix put into this Love is Blind reunion live stream. You know, they an hour, 15 minutes ahead of time before the thing was aired. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? And of course, the internet never forgets, and Twitter do their thing. It's like, well, apparently y'all wasn't ready. You know?
Right. And the thing about this that kind of stuck with me, I think the overarching thing was the idea that streaming services every day get more and more like broadcast channels. You know, now we're waiting to watch live events on Netflix the same way we waited to watch
TV
live events on regular television. You know, some shows you have to watch every, like, because I watch Bel Air on Peacock, and it comes on every week, just like it would have come on every week on NBC. You know what I mean? So it's just like we literally are just coming back around to basically broadcast habits on 12 different streaming platforms and just paying more money. It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
You know what would be cool? If they could take all the streaming services and like conglomerate, just put it all
Verizon
together.
is doing that.
It's like, I'm being really facetious as I say this, and I'm trying not to laugh as I say it, but it's kind of like cable don't look that bad right now.
I still have cable. And Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime, Peacock. Like, I mean, you know, I'm crowdsourcing some of those user login credentials, but I
have them,
right. But I have all of them plus cable. Verizon actually, and I just saw a commercial today. I'm like, I'm gonna have to look into this. Verizon has something where you can put all of those accounts into something with Verizon and actually get a discount, some sort of discount to get them all through Verizon. Like it's like one login, one master. I'm not sure, but I think it's like one master login, but like all of the streaming services through Verizon with a bit of a discount for all of them. So I'm gonna look into that because I'm paying way too much money at this point.
You got that right.
I'm the same way. I got a ton of services. Are either of y'all interested in the new? I guess they're calling it Max now. It's going to be HBO Max
plus
Discovery Plus.
I have HBO on my cable, so I get HBO Max for free. Yep, I got all of it.
Okay.
Too much content. Too much.
Of the big ones, the only ones that I don't keep all the time are Apple TV and HBO.
TV too.
you really do got them all.
Well, I have Apple One because I like Apple News and I like Apple Fitness and I have Apple Music. You know what I mean? So I just have Apple One for all of them in my cloud service, like extra cloud storage, all of that shit. It's a lot. It's a lot of money. Yeah.
So you put me onto the Verizon thing. I might have to go check that out too, because it's like I do pay for quite a few services. I do want to shout out the fast services, the things that are free, like Tubi TV or Samsung TV.
Pluto is my jam.
So Pluto, I believe it was Pluto, has like the brand new episodes of Picard coming on it.
Pluto got everything.
I was like, hold up. It's like I'm paying for this over on Paramount and I can get it over here. Now the difference is that I can watch it. I can watch whenever I want. I can watch Picard whenever I want on Paramount. I have to watch it when it comes on Pluto.
And I'm pretty sure it's littered with ads everywhere. I mean, my thing is like, me and my family watch YouTube TV, and that kind of gives us kind of like cable box type watching to where we can just flip through channels, right? But if we're trying to catch anything on demand, because they have an on-demand service, you try to watch anything on that, it's like 11 or 12 commercials or ads that take up maybe twice as much time as actually watching the episodes in the segments. You may get 2 to 5, maybe 5 to 7 minutes of the show segment
content,
and then like 6 or 7 minutes right. So it's almost like my assumption was those Tubies and the Plutos, and there's a bunch of other ones, they're free, but are you really going to enjoy the experience?
You do. I watch Pluto a lot, and it's just like watching regular TV. I mean, the ads they're just commercials. It's not like Peacock. Like Peacock will have, or Hulu will have like 240 seconds worth of ads that you have to sit through, and you see that little countdown clock. Pluto is just regular commercials. Like if you were watching broadcast television, you'll see 2 or 3 commercials and then it'll go back, and it's the same kind of 22-minute, episode of a sitcom. I just watch all the sitcoms and the classic sitcoms and stuff like that. But Pluto's my jam, yo. I love me some Pluto.
So that's why I wanted to shout it out, because it is free. You are going to see ads, but it's free, and it's really good content. And just because a show is old doesn't mean that it wasn't good. Like I went back, and this was during the throes of the pandemic. But so we're just locked in the house, and I'm trying to just watch whatever I can watch to take my mind off of whatever else is, because there's just nothing to do. And I started watching 2 shows, the Rockford Files, that I remember watching with my grandfather when I was a kid, but I can't really remember the show or get the humor because I was too young. And it was the same thing with Barney Miller, 2 shows that my grandfather absolutely loved. But, when you're watching when you're 5 or 6, you don't really get the humor that's going on. But I go back and I watch Barney Miller. That show was so incredibly well done. And it's like, everything. You kind of had to have grown up in the 70s and 80s for it to make a lot of sense today. But because I did, I can go back and watch. It's like, oh, that's why, Pops was laughing like he was, because this is like, this is really, really good, funny stuff. And so I end up watching a ton of old stuff, on Pluto TV. And then, like I said, I have Samsung TV, so I watch it on Samsung TVs all the time. So, shout out to Fast, because, there's multiple of them out there, but you can get a lot of really good quality content. All you need is internet connectivity. It doesn't cost you anything.
And a boatload of money.
Pluto.
So, as we get into this next story, y'all, and I just wrote this as folks just are not buying computers like they used to. And this is an article that I was looking at IDC, where it says the global shipments numbered at 56.9 million, marking a contraction of 29% compared to the same quarter of 2022. And then it went to the Mac shipments. Macs dropped 40.5% year over year. So folks just are not buying computers like they used to. So I just thought that this would be a good one. Everybody that is watching this show, I would imagine, has a computer of some type. And I wanted to get you guys' take on, why do you think that the PC sales are slumping as much as they are?
My whole thing is like, is this industry just destined to be reactionary? I mean, there was the whole thing of not being prepared on the front end with the chip shortage and all the rest of that stuff. At this point, like we had 3 years of pandemic, or at least 2 solid years of pandemic. Like nobody could have forecast the idea that we was going to have too much on the back end if we kept up, whatever rate of production they had going. Like it just feels like we stay playing catch up and being reactionary when we should have learned from the shortage we had on the front end to not overcorrect, so that we wouldn't have this surplus that ain't getting sold on the back end. But clearly nobody paid attention or tried to anticipate that. I don't know how forecasting and that kind of thing works, but it boggles my mind that nobody anticipated the idea of a surplus on the back end and didn't, overproduce and get to the situation we're at right now. I'm like, who's in charge of forecasting at these companies? Because y'all doing a shitty job.
I could be completely wrong, could lack any sort of scientific background or findings, but is it because computers are better now? And additionally, are we not doing as much on our computers as we used to? What I mean by that is, most of the time, and you can take it back to the story previously, we buy a computer, all of the applications are on the internet. There are very few applications. Well, not very few. There are way less applications that I have to open on my computer than I used to. Before, everything used to be an application. Therefore, it took resources. It took computer power. It took bandwidth. It took all those things. Now, you buy a computer, and most of the stuff you do is on the internet, from design to streaming to, now you got these open AIs and chat GPTs is doing all these calculations, but it's over the internet, versus my computer is doing much less work. Now, of course, you exclude the people who are designers, you exclude the people who are coders, but your average consumer, maybe they're buying a computer in 2019, 2020, and it's just working just fine. So it's like, why should I go out and buy a computer every 3 to 5 years when I can buy this one and keep it for 8, 9, well, maybe not 8, 9, but longer than people used to. So now it's like, oh snap, these numbers are coming down. Why ain't people buying computers? It's like, well, come on, computer works just fine.
And because I can do everything on my phone.
Right. That's
like,
true.
I don't even need a computer. Like, I have a computer right here and I can do everything I need to do on the phone. And I don't know, to your point, Rob, that computers are better now. I mean, I ain't going to shout out the company. I ain't going to put the company on blast, but my current laptop is kind of trash. I'm not going to lie. It has been giving me problems, and I bought it new.
So you and I have the same laptop. You got yours in 2019 or 2018? I can't remember.
My latest laptop? I got in probably 2020. I got it during the pandemic.
I couldn't remember if yours was younger or older than mine. So I got mine, the exact same model, just the year previous version of it in 2019. This thing is ridiculous. It is just as fast today as it was then. And it goes to your point, Terrance. Why? Because I don't have terabytes worth of applications installed on this. I would say that 85% of the work that I do on this PC is in a web browser. The other 15% is producing shows like the Tech Jawn, where I actually have software running on the machine, where I physically can edit audio, where I physically can edit, Terrance, you do most of the video editing, but if I had to, I could do it. I can physically make things sound better on the actual PC. But that is like a 2-time a week thing. My computer is turned on probably 6 of the 7 days of the week at the very least, usually even on the 7th day. And for the most part, everything is running in a web browser. So I think we have a confluence of a bunch of things, that it is not so much that the computers are so much better today. I think that, what is it? Is it Moore's law, where, literally every year computing power essentially doubles? I know that we're going to eventually get to the point to where the science just doesn't hold up anymore, because the physics, I should say, doesn't hold up because they just can't make things any smaller. They're getting to the point where things are literally getting as small as they can possibly make them, as far as the silicon is concerned, transistors are concerned. So I know that we're approaching that, but I do think that these machines are so good. Like, I am going into year 4. That my warranty on this actually runs out this year, and I'm seriously contemplating. Normally, when a warranty runs out on my work machine, or if it's just a home PC or something I'm using for personal, when it runs out, I just keep using it until I decide I need something new. But on my workhorse, so this machine that I'm using to do my editing and stuff like that on, when the warranty runs out is generally when I'm looking to sell it and replace it with something brand new. Right now, I don't know that I need to, because it's not like my this PC is not able to do it. So could I save myself a couple grand this year, push that off maybe until next year, maybe even a year after that? And as long as this is doing the job that I needed to do, I don't need to go out and buy a PC every 3 to 4 years like I used to do from literally the mid 90s until now.
I might be finally drinking that MacBook Kool-Aid the next one I get. I think I am, honestly. I mean, I'm so disappointed in this latest laptop, and just the problems. Like, even, I took it with me. I just came back from Idaho on some business and took it with me, and shit was crashing and just nonsense. I was like, see, ain't nobody got time for this, man. I don't have time for this. And it just, yeah.
We've talked about it on this show. So the other thing is that here's a reason why I may not upgrade my laptop that is coming up with the, to its end of life this year, as far as the warranty is concerned. This laptop that is designed to go with me places has been sitting on this docking station 99% of the time. I probably can't count on two, I probably can easily count on two hands the number of times in the 4 years I've had it that I've literally taken it off the docking station. Probably less than 10 times. So the other thought is, well, instead of getting another laptop, why don't you just go buy a desktop? So that potentially could be, my next machine would be a desktop that theoretically would even last me longer because I can go and change parts and stuff in and out of that, at my leisure. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about. But to get back to, one of the points you were asking, Terrance, when you said that, is it because the laptops are getting better? And also to your point, Stephanie, can't people forecast this stuff? The answers are, I think, is yes on the hardware's getting better, so people keep them longer. I also think that having worked in large software and hardware organizations for the better part of my adult life, no one for any reason wants to forecast that they're going to sell less of something. Even when they are, you just don't want to do it. So you can go back and say, well, why did we have such ridiculous numbers in the second half of 2020 through 2021? Well, because people are a captive audience. Everyone is home. They need a PC. Is like, that home PC that was shared between 3 kids isn't working anymore. I need to get everybody their own joint so they can do what they need to do. So the numbers go up dramatically. And even though in the back of someone's mind, they're thinking that these numbers are going to come back down, nobody wants to write that down. Nobody. I mean, even though somebody's job is to know that these numbers are going to come down, no one wants to say that. So I think that, it's at some point we're just kind of living in a fantasy land thinking that all these people who bought all these extra PCs in 2020 and 2021, well, they're still going to be there to buy PCs in 2022 and in 2023. And
but it's interesting to say that nobody wants to say that when the point should be the bottom line. And, would you rather say that or say that sales are down 40% or 29% or whatever that number is right now? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I get it. Nobody wants to be the bad cop or the harbinger of doom and gloom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't nobody bring me no bad news. Shout out to the Wiz. But it's just like, I would rather be that person than be the person that has to now come back to the shareholders and say, we didn't meet our quarterly goals and we missed them by like 30%. Like, that's insane to me. I don't know. Well, that just doesn't make any sense to me. And like, maybe I just don't understand.
So they're not missing their numbers by 30% and 40.5%. They just didn't sell as many. That's where the decline was. So yes, there is someone's job who has to go out and say, this is what we forecast. They got to do that. You legally have to be accurate with it as well, or try to be. You can miss, but you can't know that you're going to miss by 40% and right. Not actually tell your investors that. So there's that, but I'm just talking about just the way that people react to it. It's like, oh, this is a bad thing. It's like, well, is it a bad thing? Because last year you sold 3 times as many as you ever sold. So did you think you were going to sell 3 times as many again this year and have an upgrade? It's like that's just not realistic to think of it that way.
Well, it sounds to me like they're going to use this as an excuse to lay some people off.
Oh, there's no doubt, man.
That's pretty much what this is going to boil down to. Typical.
There's no doubt. So, guys, for this next story here, this one, I have talked to a couple of people who are kind of going through this story. So I just wrote here, will overseas outsourcing be the next wave of remote work? And I'll just read the article here. The CEO of the Society for Human Resource Management, Johnny Taylor Jr., told the Wall Street Journal that he decided to outsource an employee's job after she requested to work remotely from another state. He claimed that hiring someone in India saved the company around 40%. I think we probably talked about this on the show with all of this remote work. At some point, these companies are going to figure out, okay, are we still productive doing this? And the answer is, for the most part, yes. So then the very next question is going to come up. Okay, well, how can we remain as productive but cut our cost? Well, can we start outsourcing or offshoring this stuff? And that seems to be what's happening here. Now, it's cold how this happened. Someone ask, hey, can I move to another state since I'm already working remotely? And it's like, yeah, you can move to another state, but your job is going to go to India, is how the story is playing out. And that's kind of cold.
I literally put in my notes, the first paragraph of article is effed up. I mean, dude is like, the idea came to Johnny Taylor Jr.
Yeah.
early last year, and then and he's quoted as saying, then a light bulb went off, and then instead of having the employee work in another state, he outsourced her job to India, where his organization is like this brother, this dude seems proud of the fact that you just took another person's job from them and sent it overseas. Like, why are you proud of that? Like, I get it. Bottom line is the bottom line. That's what companies got to do. Capitalism reigns supreme. But maybe don't be so giddy about that shit.
Yeah.
Like he was hyped that he actually got
look what I did. It's like, I say 40%. I'm doing awesome for the company.
Proud of himself.
And he may be,
like, bro, that's so tone deaf. So tone deaf.
So go ahead, Terrance. I don't want to cut you off.
Well, no, I was going to say the Society for Human Resource Management. I'm like, are you really employing 100 people, or is it just you, the CEO, and then old girl, and then she decided she wanted to work remotely? He's like, all right, well, bump that. It's like, yeah, you probably saving 40%, labor costs, but that ain't like you done that across the board and slashed, half of your workforce. Well, maybe if it's just you and her, you did slash half your workforce. But yeah, I would have to get some more information about, oh boy, Johnny Taylor and the Society for Human Resource Management to see, how, yes, quickly, it's easy for you to say that because you got like 1 or 3 employees. Of course, slashing one person's job and moving it to remote is automatically going to recoup, all these big numbers in labor costs. But I'm not sure if it's that easy for major corporations just to turn on a dime like he did. Now, small businesses, and what I mean by small businesses, I mean entrepreneurs, people with, 5 to 10 to maybe 20 employees probably could and probably are going this route. I know about companies. I have friends who run companies who outsource work from the Philippines, from India, from South America, all these other places, and this is just how they can compete, so I can see this being a norm for them. But when we're talking about major corporations, I don't know if, an Apple or a Google or whomever decides and says, you know what, these remote workers are tripping. COVID's over. We can't get them back in the office. Let's just outsource everything to India. I don't know if it's going to be that easy that soon.
I don't know. It's saying the article said about 10 to 20% of U.S. service support jobs like software developers, human resources professionals, and payroll administrators could move overseas in the next decade. Some economists at Stanford predicted this. But I kind of see this happening, number one, because they can't get those H-1B visas popping in this country again like they were before a pandemic happened. So all of those people that would have been here anyway aren't here anymore. So I think when you say outsource, it's people who would have been here that can't get here anymore. They're just giving those folks, they're still giving those folks the jobs. They're just not giving them the jobs here in America, in the United States. So, I mean, and two, I think the companies are pissed that these folks don't want to come back. And they're like, oh, you don't want to come back? You want to have us pay for this empty building? I'll show you. I think it's another way to twist that knife for all those people that think that they have some sort of leverage in staying home. They're like, no, you don't, because we can go to India and hire somebody to do your job just as easily. So it's the Empire Strikes Back is what it feels like. The companies was like, oh, word, y'all don't want to come back? Bet I got something for that.
So my thought on this is that, yes, it's going to happen, but big companies are not going to do it with the fervor that, what's this dude's name? Johnny Taylor Jr. did.
Yo, he was right.
My experience is that they will do it, but they're going to try to hide it, obfuscate it, make it look like it's not happening to the extent that it is happening, because they do not want to get on to you outsourced all these American jobs. Now the Americans can't even afford your services anymore. They do not want to be on the side of that. So usually when you see a lot of this outsourcing, most recently, not going back into when it was happening in the early 2000s and back into the 90s, all left and right, but just most recently, you didn't lay anybody off. You just created a new department and staffed it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do any layoffs. This is like a completely new department that we created, which is true. Sometimes companies are growing. So a lot of times what they do is not that they're laying someone off. It's just that, well, we decided to actually run this out of a call center in India as compared to staffing it here. It's not like we're, just want to be clear. We didn't lay anybody off. Everybody that's here still has their jobs. This is just something that we've done over there. I think that you're going to probably see it more like that. And, I've looked at some of the conversations about, people who are going back and forth with their organizations. I've seen some that have really, really gone kind of way out there with it's our fundamental right to not have to come in and stuff like that. And it's like, it's their fundamental right not to employ you. Right. That is ridiculous, on that. But I do get to where, the pandemic showed employers and people that you could effectively do a lot of work remotely. Folks like that. The question is going to be, are you going to start seeing people not necessarily take pay cuts, but maybe the raises don't come with the, to the extent that they may have come before because you're working.
They're going to get people back in those offices.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they're going to get
a whole
people
lot of real estate that a whole
eventually
lot of
they're going to get people back in those offices because they're spending way too much money, and it's like, do you want to work or not? And we're really just at that point now. Are you working or not? And that's what it's going to be. And it's capitalism. Gotta love capitalism.
So like I said, I understand the plight of the employer. I definitely understand the plight of the employee. But like I said, I hope that this does not become the trend that the Economist is saying that is going to be. I hope what it looks like, if anything, there's a shortage of IT workers here. Clearly, many of them have recently been laid off, but I think that's going to self-correct probably in over time here probably in the short term more so than the long term. And if they do start doing a bunch of outsourcing, I hope that is not necessarily for job replacement, that might be for net new positions that you just didn't bring here. It's like, I know folks are going to say, well, what is the difference? And the difference is that you didn't lay somebody off. You just went and did something, and you didn't necessarily hire someone. And, neither one of those things is great things, but I think I think the not laying somebody off to go hire somebody net new is not as bad as laying somebody off to go hire somebody at less the rate.
Keep hope alive, Rob.
Yeah. Hey, I'm trying to be pessimistic, optimistic on it.
Happen, not gonna.
Yeah. So I don't know which one of y'all stuck this one here. This not last story, second to last story is AI taking over rap. I didn't even look at this one. Which one of y'all put that in there?
I did.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and I don't know about it. Tell us what's going on.
So over the weekend, Drake and The Weeknd, pun intended, released a track that has amassed over 250 Spotify streams and 10 million views on TikTok. But of course, the musicians have nothing to do with this song because a ghostwriter, by an artist by the name of Ghostwriter, generated the song using AI. So, Rob, we talked pre-show about one of our partners is big into AI. That's all that's in the news as of late, AI. And as of late, now the entertainers are starting to get thrown into it willingly or not, or begrudgingly, to where Drake, as popular as Drake and The Weeknd are, now their voices or their likeness is being used on songs that they and their labels did not attribute. So they are now trying to figure out how to get these songs and videos and deep fakes. The story mentions Jay-Z, had some copyright strikes against YouTube uploads of AI generated Jay-Z deepfakes of him, presumably his face and or his likeness, rapping to songs that he personally never rapped to. And Eminem as well is trying to get some content off the air of AI generated content that he had no involvement in. So, you know, I just wanted to throw that in just to get your take on, everybody's talking about AI, how AI is going to take jobs. Is AI as it is now, or eventually, you know, as it's growing and people are finding more applications for it, you know, are rappers or entertainers, singers, you know, artists, you know, are they going to be competing against AI in the near future? I just wanted to get your takes on that.
Yes. I saw a video. I don't know if it was on TikTok, and I forget. Because I started to find something similar to this and throw it in for this week, because somebody was talking about the idea that when you look at fair use on the internet, it covers everything except voice. And so, like, a bunch of major record labels have put some sort of statement out disallowing the use of voice to train these AI systems. Like, they can scrape the internet for anything else, but they're saying you cannot scrape our voice catalog for these things because it's not protected. But yeah, it's just because I think Rihanna, they got Rihanna covering a Beyonce song, but it's not her that did it. It was the AI that generated her cover of some Beyonce song or something like that. That just happened recently. And yes, this is going to be some bullshit.
Yeah, this one, this is it's going to be a difficult time. This stuff has gotten so good that it can fool you. It can fool humans. It's not that it's going to be able to fool humans. It is doing it now. I actually listened to the one that was the fake of Jay-Z. Not only did it sound exactly like Jay-Z, it sounded exactly like how Jay-Z raps. It's like, if I wouldn't have known that it wasn't him, I would have just assumed it was him on some new joint. And that's where it becomes very, very, very problematic, because you literally can go out here and fake this stuff to the point that you're making enormous amounts of people think that something is someone that is not someone.
And so, we got an election coming up next year, and it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a whole mess.
And you're going to get into where people are going to say, they're going to say something, and then when they get caught on it, that wasn't me. It was
AI. Obviously, it had to be AI generated. Yeah,
it was AI generated.
Yeah.
You're going to hear that, and it may not be true, but it may hold the news story long enough for the election to happen, or for the thing that they needed to get done, to happen. So that is something that is going to have to be figured out. Just talking on the larger point of AI. I did, before you jumped on into the green room stuff, I had mentioned to Terrance that, one of our boys, he is really into it, and he is doing some incredible stuff with like Midjourney and coming with imagery and stuff like there, and making T-shirts and this and that and the other. It's actually pretty cool, some of the stuff that he's doing. But it has me, thinking about some things that can be done with AI. This isn't going anywhere. I don't know that we're going to have the fervor with it that we do today. Really, we first heard about ChatGPT, what was it, November 30th last year. So we're still relatively new in this. We haven't been a full 6 months with this thing being around yet. I do believe that, like just about everything else, tools are used to make the work easier. I think that if we think about AI in that way, that we're going to use it because it's going to make doing work easier. And you're going to have to learn how to write prompts. You're going to have to learn how to do some new things with it that you'll probably be useful to people for a while. But just, it wasn't an argument. It was just a statement where somebody, said that, like, if you use tools to do the work of the expert, you'll never pick up the expertise. And my response was, I've never cut a tree down with an axe, but I've cut dozens down in a day with a chainsaw. I don't know that I need to become an expert with an axe. I think on some level, for some things, you can actually look at AI that same way. This is a tool that is going to allow me to be more efficient in doing what I do. I'm not down with people who are like trying to write term papers with it, who are trying to create content with it and pass that off.
But that's the problem. You're getting all of that together. You're getting the good with the bad, no matter what you do. And especially in this instance, and that's what I was watching a friend of mine's live that was talking about this. And it was like, it's one thing to generate artwork on AI that took inspiration from other artwork. It's not copying other artwork, but it's a whole nother thing to copy somebody's voice and create something new from that. That's just fraud. And you're not going to be able to get around that, going forward as people, to Charles's point, new albums from Biggie and Tupac coming out. And, now we get the holograms on stage and it's just fraud. And it doesn't seem to be an endpoint to any of it.
But maybe not an endpoint, but a new opportunity brewing. In this story, they, if you read down a little bit more, it's talking about technologists Matt Dryhurst and Holly Herndon have found it spawning AI. One of their projects, quote, "Have I Been Trained?" allows users to search for their artwork and see if it's been incorporated into AI. Into an AI training set without their consent. So like you said, good with the bad, you're going to bring a lot of people looking to plagiarize, copy, otherwise make money off of artwork, over talent, over whatever that may not be theirs. You bring in these people who are looking to fight that, who will create opportunities in and of itself.
And that's the thing. We need more. There's not enough of that right now. You know what I mean? There aren't enough pieces of software. There are not enough tools that can detect AI generated content yet, for all of the AI generated content that's out there. So, and it'll always be that arms race. And I think, at least for right now, the AI is winning.
All right, y'all. So let's get to this last story. And Steph, I love the way that you introduced this, where you just said, "Have the social media chickens come home to roost." So I know you've actually got a collection of articles that we're going to talk about, but I want to go ahead and let you, just kind of, because I know you were thinking about some of this stuff, and I want to let you go off off your notes of how you wanted to talk about each one of these things. I got points on at least 2 of the 4.
Yeah, it's just, there's just been a whole lot of different stories about social media and the attempt to rein it in, particularly around young people and their usage and verification and trying to get them to use social media less. So I pulled the first story and threw that up on my social media, and I got a bunch of people's different sort of opinions about it, because the first story is about Arkansas just passed a law that makes it illegal for minors to be on social media without their parents' consent. It's called the Social Media Safety Act, and a social media company shall not permit an Arkansas user who is a minor to be an account holder on the social media company's social media platform unless the minor has the express consent of a legal parent or guardian. And the thing about this, though, for this particular law, age verification must be done through a third-party vendor, which is not to retain any identifying information of the individual after verifying their age. We all know that is not going to happen.
Yeah, right.
So that's the biggest problem, is that you're handing over minors' personal identifying information to some random ass third-party vendor and saying that, oh, they're going to get rid of it though right after they identify the age and verify the age. But the other thing that caught my eye from this is that there are a ton of different exceptions to this bill. The most ridiculous one was gaming. I'm like, how is gaming not falling under the umbrella of this law? But what was definitely not exempt was social media companies that allow a user to generate short video clips of dancing, voiceovers, or other acts of entertainment in which the primary purpose is not educational or informative. So those companies don't meet the exclusion. And basically what this sounds like to me is another way to try to get TikTok off the grid.
I believe that this is another way to get TikTok off the grid. Mm-hmm. But I have to look at who's the governor of this state.
Yeah, right.
What is her name?
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
I just don't believe that it's just about this. No. One thing that, I don't think that you're going to get a lot of argument about is that, in the grand scheme of thing, if you were to take all US based social media, it probably is a bit left of center. In totality, there's some stuff that is very, very hard right. There's some stuff that is very, very hard left. But I think in totality, it probably skews just a bit center left. So that's going to be a problem for folks like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So it's like, okay, so, we don't want these kids getting indoctrinated with all of this liberal ideology. So what do we need to do? We're going to ban all of it unless the parents with a photo ID verify who their children are and say, yes, we allow them to be on this system. On one hand, I can see parents are saying, well, yeah, I want to have the opportunity to determine whether or not my kids are on social media. But those parents, you know what? You already can determine whether or not your kids are on social media because you gave them the phone.
Exactly.
I don't know too many 11-year-olds that's going out, going down to the plant, putting in 40 hours so they can pay that ridiculous cell phone bill. Usually that is coming from the parents. So I do believe that parents already have the ability to completely monitor this. If they choose to completely monitor this, I don't know. One of us who was in the middle, I think this is part of your life's work to talk to parents and to students about
just saying this stuff. And most of the people on that responded to me on Instagram feel like they don't want the government helping them raise their kids because aren't Republicans supposed to be about smaller government and not bigger government?
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, where did this come from? All of a sudden,
if I had to guess, I would say that Meta gave Sarah some money to do this, or the lawmakers in Arkansas. Somebody got paid in Arkansas to do this because I think their end goal was that if the social platforms have to enable this in Arkansas, they'll have to do it nationwide. So that precipitates a nationwide TikTok ban. I think this all goes back to TikTok. And I think, Meta is trying to get rid of TikTok and this is their clumsy way of doing it. Honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with what, content and what the kids are seeing and all the rest of that. I think Meta is trying to get rid of TikTok and they were like, let's try to get if we can get one state, and Idaho has also enacted a very similar legislation. If we can start getting the states to enact this legislation, we got to do it for one, we got to do it for them all. And pretty soon TikTok's out of the game.
Because especially if it says specifically social media company that allows a user
this
to
is what I'm saying.
Short video clips.
They literally are saying TikTok without saying
right.
TikTok. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that was the first one. The next one was an article. I believe it was in The Verge, Steph. Yeah.
So the next one is about screen time for kids. TikTok is trying to implement some different screen time tools. They're limiting screen time to 60 minutes for people under 13. But again, it's all optics and lip service because no one is putting their real age in these, when you sign up anyway. And even if you did and they did the limit, you could just ignore the thing. I put this in there because it's like, that shit don't work for me. Like, I get those videos that pop up on TikTok every now and again, like, hey, you've been on here for a while. Maybe just stop scrolling. And you just swipe.
Mind your business and swipe left.
Hey, mind your business. And I just keep swiping and stay on TikTok another 2 hours. It's like, I don't know what the point of all of this is. I really don't.
To me, the point of this one is that I think TikTok is legitimately concerned that there's bipartisan support for getting them up out of here.
Yes. I
so the fact that this is not a Democratic thing or a Republican thing or even an independent thing, because everybody is like not feeling TikTok right now, especially TikTok. And Stephanie, I will concede your point. This is just Facebook giving everybody money, to get into this. I knew that you were going to say that, so I said it for you.
Yep.
But I think that if you are TikTok, you have to be legitimately concerned, and you have to take every step you can to keep them from turning off your multi-billion-dollar application to run.
Absolutely. TikTok is shook right now. They're shook right now, and they're like trying to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall to see if something is going to stick and make these politicians happy. But I feel like the politicians are already in Meta's pocket, so nothing's going to make them happy.
So this next one is about LinkedIn. This was a TechCrunch article, and LinkedIn is looking at ways to roll out verifying your identity for free. They're not, unlike Meta, unlike Twitter, they're going to use the Clear system. So if anybody who travels and you see Clear in the airport, they're going to use that same system to do authentication, where you would have to authenticate with a telephone number and a state ID.
Or and they like, you can respond with your company email or something like that was in there. Now, the thing about this one, I appreciate the fact that they're using Clear, because, I feel like there's a little bit more sense of security around the handling of your data using that mechanism. However, I was struck by the fact that they were really trying to hype up the free part, because there is no such thing as a free lunch. Like, we gonna pay for this one way or the other. Like, I don't believe it's quote unquote free. I don't know yet how LinkedIn is going to pass this cost on to us, but they will. They will. I'm positive that they will.
Oh yeah, if this is popular and it works, there's no way they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, you can continue to use it for free.
Right.
They're going to figure out a way to get paid off of it.
Considering I paid $75 for my TSA pre-check, and I think it was like $100 for Clear, like to get them both together. Like we had to pay for that. So the idea that that LinkedIn is just going to be giving this away is just, I don't see that.
And that's the thing that I thought. It's like, okay, why are you doing this for free? You may not be charging me, but you showed enough making the difference up on the back end. So Microsoft has determined that people who are verified at this level at LinkedIn, we can profit more off of them than we can for those who don't. It's got to at the very least be that they're not going to. We're going to go do this at at millions of dollars of our cost just because we're nice.
Right. No,
I don't believe the companies roll that way. There's got to be something on the other side of this. The other part of it too is that you can verify your work with a work email. So I've had my own LinkedIn pretty much since LinkedIn has been LinkedIn. I've had a LinkedIn account for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 2 employers that were really gung-ho about you putting all your work data into LinkedIn and keeping that, is much related to, their presence as your own. Because I think what they realized was that, well, if we got a couple hundred employees and they all have LinkedIn and it's all pointing back to us, that's from a search engine optimization standpoint, that's going to help us be bigger. I think that's part of it. But at some level, I would have a concern is, whose LinkedIn account is it? Because one company that I'm thinking of, they actually paid for like the pro level of account. The employer was paying it.
For you to have the pro.
For you to have, what is it called? LinkedIn Gold or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
But
they were actually paying for that.
Okay, it
That's
ain't
the
so
thing.
ain't.
Whose LinkedIn is that when it's LinkedIn Gold?
Their LinkedIn.
And one of the I did, because I said I'm not necessarily interested in doing that. I already have gold. I'll just keep paying for it. And they were like, "Oh no!" They actually showed us where the legalese of no, this is still your account. It is you. So basically, the way that you just expensed it. But it was your account. They never had any control over your account. You never hooked up to any type of, they couldn't do anything on your account, couldn't make any changes. You just basically had LinkedIn Gold and the company paid for it. So that made me feel a little bit better for it. But I know that there's going to be some folks out there. I don't necessarily want to put all my employers, email addresses in here. I don't want to necessarily be linked to them that way.
Because where's it going to end? Because you're going to put something in your story or whatever they call LinkedIn's feed, news feed, whatever they call it, and your company going to be like, hey, that post that you put, you might want to consider or reconsider or re-edit or re-say it.
Another way to monitor.
Out of all the social media stuff, and you do have to put LinkedIn into social media, even though it is very, very business specific. The one thing that I do not like about it is that, and this probably works for all of us, Terrance, maybe you more so than two of us, because this is what Stephanie and I do 100% now. But if you've got a regular gig and you do stuff on the side, or you do, you actually are a creator or something, you still only can have one LinkedIn account. So I have to have all my work stuff and all of my personal stuff, to the point to where that means I just don't have any personal stuff in LinkedIn. And I've never really been able to use LinkedIn until very recently for my personal stuff, because I've never been, what I do at my job is what I do at my job. And only people who are worried about my job need to know what I do at my job. But what I do, in my creator business is what I do in my creator business. And I want everybody to know about that, but not necessarily to be linked up to my job as I do it.
Right.
I never want to be in a situation where I always have to say, these thoughts are mine and mine alone. They do not reflect an employer or something like that. And I think that by LinkedIn, and I do want to say this, I do understand why they only allow you to have one profile, because if they allowed you to have more than one profile, then you have a whole bunch of fake profiles out there, or a whole bunch of profiles who aren't necessarily who they say they are. I get that. But just being, I do believe that, especially if you're going to go down this road of doing these verifications, if I verify at this level and I've got all my company stuff in it, allow me to create a personal account for the t-shirt business that I do on the side, that I don't necessarily just want to be, you have, you're executive vice president of X, Y, and Z, and you run a surf shop on the side. That doesn't necessarily go with a profile.
Only I could see it only if they're using it to get people who are lying about their job experience. Your boy, what's this guy out of New York, Soros? I can see it as only if it's verifying that I have worked there or I am currently an employee.
And
that's where it stops.
I'm not mad at LinkedIn for trying to maintain the integrity of the platform. At the end of the day, LinkedIn is a professional social network. You know what I mean? And it is not necessarily there for all of your little side hustles and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Put that shit on Instagram. Like I get it. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably feel the same way you do, Rob. But, I think for LinkedIn to maintain the integrity of what they've built, I think that's the way it probably needs to be and to stay.
Or this thought just popped in my mind about when somebody says something or does something sideways, and the social media super sleuths typically go to LinkedIn to find out, all right, what company this dude did and say something racist or crazy,
right? And we need that too. Yep, like, link that joint right. Put them emails in there. Look. I need to know who to go complain to,
because I'm pretty sure companies have been, slanged and threw through all the mud on social media for being somehow tied to a quote unquote employee when that really wasn't the case. And now the company's got to be like, this person, they got to go on Twitter and say, this person is not identified, associated with so-and-so and so-and-so. I don't know where they got that information from doing this. Now they can say for sure, oh yeah, they work for so-and-so, or
Absolutely.
ain't nothing, you know, so these super sleuths can figure it out.
If you verify, we know exactly who you are.
That's right.
All right, Steph, this last one here was the Gen Z Pentagon leaker. Was he motivated by social media clout?
Well, and I think this kind of
problem.
I think this kind of brings everything full circle because, you know, with everything, all of these social media platforms were trying to do, number one, to verify identity, and number two, to keep people and young people in particular from spending so much time on these platforms, going down these rabbit holes and things like that. I think this kind of sort of caps everything because, you know, it looks like this boy, you know, and I mean, I call him a boy because he was 18 years old, had been in some Discord, you know, conversations with his friends and did this for clout, you know, and it's just like, had some of these social media restrictions been put in place, I mean, he would still be able to be on the platforms just as an 18-year-old. However, you know, maybe there could have been something, and you know, I would have to believe that if it got to the point where you are here giving away government secrets that, you know, put other servicemen at risk, this didn't start yesterday when he joined the Army. You know what I mean? He's been on social media for a very long time, you know, having these conversations with these same type of people, again, being indoctrinated with hate and all this other stuff that he's been able to find on the internet. Had some of these controls been in place when he first got online, which was probably when he was 12 or 13 or even younger, maybe we wouldn't be here with him facing 15 years in prison, and again, putting service members' lives at risk because you wanted to show off for your friends the Thug Shaker Central, which is the wackest name I have ever heard in life. But yeah, so it kind of like is in as much as I don't know how much these platforms are going to be able to do to keep these kids offline and to limit their screen time and everything else, you know. Maybe if any of those things could work or could ever work, we could avoid this type of situation. Yeah,
I'll be honest. I don't know how you avoid people doing things for clout in general, specifically social media clout. But I'm curious as to how did this dude who was a national guardsman, how did he get all this information?
All this information, exactly.
How did he get
21 years old.
How on earth?
So that's the question to me. How did he get access to this sensitive data? And you know, I just wonder at some level, because you don't know, like, you know, he's 21 years old. He's still just a baby. You don't know what necessarily what this person is thinking, but on the same hand or on the same token, there are 21-year-olds who are literally in charge of multi-million, in some cases, $1 billion worth of equipment that can do a whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder, when you start thinking about some folks who do certain things in the military, they have all kind of psychological screening. They go through all kind of testing to make sure that you know that this is not going to go left. Do we now have to start thinking about putting people who have access to the data through some of that same type of psychological training? Could you have found out if you interviewed this kid that this is something that he might do?
I'm not at liberty to say, but as somebody who has had high level security clearance, I would have thought that something would have bubbled up from this, because the way they stuck that microscope up my behind to give me the clearance I had, I would have thought that they would have, you know, been able to, number one, see that he was a part of this Discord, you know, group, maybe speak to some of those people, maybe, I mean, like I said,
keep up with them, monitor them ongoing.
They scraped my life with a fine tooth comb.
I too have had security. I too have had security clearances and have been interviewed dozens of times for people to get them. It's not just a questionnaire.
No.
It's not just a questionnaire. They're digging into the recesses. I mean, like FBI agents will show up to your place of work and ask literally everybody there questions about you. It is not.
But go ahead.
He should have been hooked up to. He should have had a poly by now. Like with the type of level of clearance and sensitive information he was handling, he should have had a poly. And if he was doing all of these things, or even thought that he might want to do all of these things, that should have been uncovered well before he had a chance to dump it all on the internet. Somebody wasn't doing a job.
I think it stopped. Well, not stop. I don't know how security clearances work, but once they go through, my wife actually has similar type of security clearances, but they really don't monitor after that. Once they've completed and say, "Oh, this person's good," I guess they kind of just let you go about.
You have to get that,
depending on the clearance. They do. You have
to get that stuff done over and over and over again.
So again, I'm curious. I mean, as I'm reading in the story, it says his position as an IT guy with a high-level security clearance in the 102nd Intelligence Wing at the Otis Air National Guard Base on Cape Cod, he was high up, which leads me to believe they should have been watching him even closer. Because basically,
I don't know how this boy was able to do this, honestly.
Because basically what happened is he, for all intents and purposes, he got radicalized. Because he was a part of this crew on Discord, and he was kind of pumping his chest out. Right, he was pumping his chest out that he had this security clearance, and his little homies was like, "Nah, we don't believe you. We don't believe you. We don't believe you." He was like, "Oh, okay, bet." And basically, they reverse psychologied his ass into giving up all this information, and they called him the original gangster, respected OG. They called him the man, the myth, and the legend. And I can see psychologically this guy who, according to the story, at the time of him getting into this Discord, lived with his mother, lived with his mama, didn't have no girlfriend, didn't have no real life outside of the Air National Guard and Discord. Right. He this was his life, which again leads me to believe, why isn't this government level security keeping up with people like this?
Somebody dropped the ball. Somebody definitely dropped the ball on this, because there's just no, like, first of all, even a government issued phone shouldn't have been anywhere near documents that could be photographed. Like no devices. You're not supposed to have any devices near that type of sensitive information. Like it just so many holes just all the way through this story, and somebody needs to lose their job behind this, for real.
All right, y'all. That was a heck of an episode. It's been a few weeks since all three of us have actually been on the show together. So it was, we went a little long, but hey, we was catching up because it's been a few weeks. But before we get up out of here, we have a new patron, y'all, and so I got to give a shout out to Duke Winfield. Now we give shout outs when we get raises as well. So not only do I have to give Duke a shout out for becoming a patron, I have to give Duke a shout out for actually becoming a patron and in the same week actually giving us a raise. So Duke is holding us down. So I sent him a message earlier today, thanking him, and told him make sure you're listening for the show tonight. I don't know if he made it into the live
stop
stream.
Doing that. You better. One thing talk about Robb. It's one thing to shout people out. It's one thing to message them and tell them, "Hey, listen to the show tonight," because I'm gonna shout you out. Because if you forget or we get sidetracked, they're gonna be like, "Man, what happened?"
You know what? We've done it, and we've done it. We've had shows where we went long, and I ended up having to cut out the patrons and come back and do it the next week. But no, when someone becomes a patron, as soon as I get the notification, I go and let them know, because hey, this is somebody who actually decided to become a member, hold us down financially. I'm not waiting till the show to let them know that we appreciate them for that. I'm actually going in, and so folks, that's something they look forward to. That's why we do the shout outs at the end of the show. So Duke Winfield, thank you for holding us down.
Appreciate you.
So with that, y'all, let's go ahead and get up out of here. Tech Life Steph, tell the folks how they can get at you.
So I am finally going to be debuting my new website soon. Stay tuned. It's coming. I promise I'm going to do a live AMA and sort of a live reveal of the website. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of the tech on how to do that. But I will be on Instagram doing that within the week. So follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph.
I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm trying to reduce the amount of social media online properties that I got. So till further notice, just follow me everywhere at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we are also at The Tech Jawn, The Tech JAWN on all the things. So come and holla at us wherever you holla. Till we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.